computer. Now, first things first, where is this message going to print to? So the answer to that is if you come up here to Tools, and then you click on Serial Monitor, what pops up here will be the port that the Arduino is printing to. So when we print our messages, this is where it will show up. So now we know that, let's start coding up our button and our serial print. So I'm going to start by defining the button. So I'm going to say int button equals, and then I've got my button wired up to pin 6. And then in void setup, I'm going to say pin mode button, and then set that as an input. Right, now we come to our first serial command. So we have to set up the serial print in our void setup. So we say serial with a capital S dot begin, and then we have brackets and a semicolon. And inside these brackets here, we write a number. I'm going to write 9,600. Now, the number we write here is what's known as a baud rate, spelled B-A-U-D, like that. And what it means is the number of bits of data sent every second. So we've set the baud rate to 9,600, which is the standard baud rate for the Arduino serial port, which means that we're sending 9,600 bits of information every second. So if we look at our serial monitor, when we open our serial monitor up, you see down here that you can set the baud rate to a number of different levels. You have to make sure that the baud rate in your serial monitor is set to the same as what you've coded it up as in your Arduino code. If they're different, so you can see here it says waiting for button press. If I change the baud rate of our serial monitor to a different value than our void setup, you'll see it comes out with complete rubbish. And that's because the baud rate is different between our Arduino and our computer setup. So if I change that back to 9,600, we get what we're expecting. So that is the baud rate. Now we've set up the serial port with a baud rate of 9,600, we're going to create a print that prints only once during the void setup loop, because as we know, the void setup loop only runs once when we first turn our Arduino on. So we can use it, for example, I've used it here to say waiting for button press. So it just prints telling you that the serial transmission is set up and working, and it tells you what it's waiting for. So we're going to set that up now. And you say serial with a capital S dot print, and then I'm going to say ln, and what that stands for is new line. So if you don't have that, it will print everything on the same line, which we don't want. So we're going to say ln, and then we're going to open and close our brackets and semicolon. Now inside the brackets, we're going to open and close our quotation marks, and then anything we write inside our quotation marks will be printed in English as it's written on our serial monitor. So I'm going to write hello world. Okay. Now if we come down to our void loop, what we want is when we press the button, we want it to print the button has been pressed. So we're going to use an if statement to test if the button's been pressed. So we say if the digital read of the button is equal to high, i.e. if the button's been pressed, then we're going to open and close our square brackets, and then we're going to say serial.print again. We're going to say ln, because otherwise it will all print on the same line. We're going to open our brackets, open our quotation marks, say, now we're going to type what we want to print. So we're going to say the button has been pressed, exclamation mark. Then we're going to close our quotation marks, close our brackets, and then semicolon to end the line of code. So now if we upload that, and we're going to go to Tools, Serial Monitor, and down here we're going to make sure that the baud rate is at the same rate that we've set it as in the code, so 9,600, which it is. And we see the first thing that prints is hello world, which is what we've said here in the void setup, and that only prints once because the void setup only runs once when we first set the code up. So, or when we first turn the Arduino on. So now if I press the button, it should print the button has been pressed. So there we go. It's printing. When I press the button, it's saying the button has been pressed. And if we wanted to only print that once, we would add a little delay here, which stops it printing loads of times. So now if we take another look at it, serial monitor, hello world. There you go, every time I press the button now it prints once. If I hold the button down it will keep printing every 400 milliseconds.